Hello and welcome to Friday Night Prime Time here for week number 6 of the Clio Cup Fixed Series. Today we are at the Tsukuba International Circuit, the 2000, I believe, and I'm joined here by Paul Smith and sorry, I apologise. I'm hearing myself in my ear. I'm joined by Paul Smith and Ika Marikala on the production. How are you doing, Paul? What are you thinking for this race to this evening?
I'll tell you what, this is going to be an exciting evening of racing here. 15-minute race around this tight and twisty track. Plenty of overtaking opportunities, but not the widest of tracks either at Tsukuba. So definitely the drivers are going to be trying to get themselves the best possible qualification time here today. But we've seen plenty of thrills and spills around this circuit, and certainly this is one that we are going to look forward to.
100%, Paul. I think it's going to be a very, very good race. As you can see on your screen, we've got the schedule. As you can see, we are halfway through the season. We've seen a lot of racing so far that's been really good, and I can't wait for the rest of the season. As you see, this week we're at Tsukuba, the 2000 full circuit. Next week we go to Laguna Seca, always a famous one amongst iRacers, and of course last week we had Jerez. If we take a look at the points standings, you can see that Danny Martin is topping the points. This is the iRacing's point system, so it goes across any split that goes on between Tuesday and Tuesday all week. And you can see how people are doing. Adi Cobra Lopez up there, Alex Rogers, who we've seen here tonight, and we've seen previous times throughout a lot of races this week. And Nunez, they're in fourth as well. I believe some of the drivers are getting underway with qualifying as we speak. There is 4 minutes to go. Who do you think is going to be on pole? I know it's easy to always say the number one car, Paul, but what's your opinion looking at some of the times first coming in?
I mean, we're looking at just over a minute for a lap. So as I said, it's a really short lap around here, 2 kilometres, hence the 2.04 kilometres to give it its exact measurement. Hence the 2000 layout here. I mean, Herzog is pretty much at the front there by 1/10.5. You're going to see close times together here in qualifying, just purely by the nature of it being a short track, so the margins are finer that people need to work to. But yeah, Herzog, Pentilla at the top there, Alex Rogers, as you mentioned there in the championship standings, they're all pretty close together. There's still a few drivers yet to set a lap time as well, though, so we're having to be patient and wait and see.
100%. I think that it's always going to be close, just a 62-second lap. Still plenty of chances to make a mistake, but generally, a tenth is a lot more to lose over such a small amount of time. Someone that points out to me as maybe looking to improve is Dylan Freckleton, who looks to be, I think, around the 8th place point at the minute, but I think he might have done both of his laps. Few others, you're kind of expecting Herzog, Pentilla, Rogers at the top, both doing really good jobs at the minute. But yeah, a few others not doing so well. Have you mentioned to me before the broadcast that you drove this car. What was your initial impressions when you actually drove it, about how it drove and kind of being the newest car addition, or one of the newest cars addition to iRacing? What's your opinion on it?
It's quite a pointy car to drive, so it's very much on the nose is that car, which for a front-wheel drive car on iRacing, and the iRacing staff are going to slate me for this one, but it's actually a pleasure to actually have a front-wheel drive car that actually gives you a bit of point and go on the front end. All the rest of the front-wheel drive cars that we've got here in iRacing really do just push and understeer and not give us that feel that you should really get from a front-wheel drive dedicated race car. So yeah, this Clio, it is fun to drive. It's getting used to it not having ABS. Pretty much every other front wheel drive car that we've got on iRacing, you've got ABS to help you out there, to bail you out. These drivers still have to modulate their brakes, make sure they get it absolutely spot on into these heavy braking zones, and there are a couple. Into turn 1, that's quite a braking zone, and into turn 8, the tight hairpin before the back straight, that's quite a heavy braking zone that you might see 1 or 2 lock up on and go straight on in that one. Hopefully we don't see many incidents, but you never know. But yeah, it's a fun car to drive for me. It is, and you know me, Will. I'm pretty much a front-wheel drive only guy at the moment with how I drive. But yeah, it really is a fun car to drive.
I completely agree with you. I mean, I get to drive this car on a fairly weekly basis, doing the data pack for a site and on this series, and I do enjoy getting in it every week. I always feel like it drives a bit like a go-kart, and I know it's really easy for someone to say that, but the reason I say it is because it really, I feel like a key area for the lap time is getting onto those three wheels and carrying it still. You know, there's only a bit of time left in qualifying, but if you carry it on the three wheels, it feels like the rotation's so much better, and I think that's a key area that these drivers look for in lap times. But with not too long to go, that looks to be your order. And yeah, it's going to be a good race.
Yeah, I'm certainly looking forward to this one. A number of cars at the back that haven't been able to set themselves a lap time. It should be an interesting race, to say the least.
Well, here we have it, your grid for tonight's Friday night primetime. Carl Herzog has put it on pole with a time of 1 minute 02.2. You've got Pentilla on the set, joining him on the front row. Rogers followed by Rosso, Reyes and Irizar in your top six. Moving on into the second half of our grid here, well, not second half, but the second little bit, is Thomas Steppanen in 7th with Michael Goh on 8th. Lapina in 9th, Freckleton in 10th, probably further back than he expected to be. Tomei and Salazar in 12th. Just 4 more cars to round out your grid. It is Blancas starting on P13, Saraguay on P14, Blanco, and then Daha are the cars that didn't set a lap time that you see now on your screen. Well, the cars have been on the grid for over a minute. Who would be your pick for the win today, Paul?
Pentilla. I think he's got a good shout of it from the front row of the grid. Second place could be a good shout for that one. Alex Rogers could be a dark horse in this one. Yes, I'm picking all the easy ones up at the front of the grid. But opening laps, you know, for the drivers got to get the tyres into play. But here we go for the start.
So it looks like the drivers are about to get underway here. Lights are out and away we go. Good start by all the guys on the front row. It looks like Herzog got away well. Got the car of Rogers around the outside, and a new livery throwing me off a little bit this week. Quadrant livery. All cars getting around turn one. It looks like there's been a crash in the background. Someone nearly rolled over there. We'll have to see a replay of that in a little bit. Looks to be the number 12 of Stephen. Ah, that's a shame. Not the start that he would have wanted. Hopefully he can get back going and maybe join the fight again, depending on his pace. So we look back. Looks to be pre-line astern at the minute, but quite an eventful start at the back. But yeah, pretty calm at the minute, Paul.
Certainly is. Herzog just trying to get the breakaway at the front in the early going, whereas the RD Simsport driver of Matthias Pentilla, they're just behind the wheel of that second-placed Clio right now. And, well, he didn't get the best start off the front row of the grid, did Pentilla, but Alex Rogers just couldn't quite get the move done around the outside of turn number 1, and that means that he's had to slot back into to third place. But there's going to be plenty of laps in this race and plenty of opportunities for drivers, as there's some of the lockups that I was talking about into turn 1.
Absolutely, you do see it there. We saw that last week at Jerez, a lot of lockups into the hairpin, and like Paul was saying, we do expect to see quite a bit more. We look a little bit further into pack with the number 7 car of that's Rosso, I believe, having a little fight, or a little bit of a fight with Irizar. You know, they're kind of just line astern, playing the game of just trying to get the lap times in the best as they can do at the moment. We do maybe see a move up the inside here. The green car of the number 15 of that is Somei, trying to look for the inside. Tomei, I should say. Trying to look for the inside. Doesn't quite do it. Trying to get himself inside the top 10. Always a nice place to aim to be, but there's not a lot of time to make these moves, and you definitely got to try and make those stick, especially when you're as close as Tomei was there. Looking forward to the number 10. Runs a little wide off that last corner. Go maybe making himself vulnerable to Blancas behind. Blancas up the inside, through, makes the move. Looks like he makes it stick, as it looks like Freckleton was locking up ahead. Move done, and that's a good job there.
Yeah, Blanca's moving up 5 places in this race so far, so on the charge here as they come through the field. But we'll have a look at what happened then to Thomas Stephen at the start then. So this is down in towards turn number 1, cars fanning out, and into 1 they goes, and it's 3 into 1, bang bang, and well, into the wall, and almost, as you said, flipping over.
Yeah, it looked a little bit more dramatic when I was looking at it, but yeah, just 3 into 1 doesn't go. Tapped around, not really much Stephen could have done there, because I felt a bit innocent party on the outside. But sometimes that happens in racing, and we've all been there. We look back towards the front. Herzog is still holding about a 0.4 of a second lead here. Starting your fourth lap, that will be. That little lockup kind of looks like all the drivers are just about getting it. As long as the car's turning in and you lock up, it's never too bad. Of course, not the best for tyre wear, but in such a short race, it's not going to be too much of an issue. And it's interesting to see how different drivers adapt to driving a car without ABS, because I, for one, drive a car without ABS very regularly, sometimes here on RaceSpotTV in the Porsche Esports Clio Cup Great Britain, which, Paul, you commentate on wonderfully. And yeah, I know you've had a lot of time in front-wheel drive cars with ABS. When you jump to cars without ABS, Paul, do you find it to be a very big difference? Do you struggle with it?
It's just all about getting your eye in. Getting to that feel of where the braking is ideal. You know, it's a case of it doesn't affect it too much if it's the unloaded tyre that's the one locking up, because when you're going into, say, this hairpin here at turn number 1, all the weight transfer is onto that front left, as we've got this dicing between 3 into first turn, and we're going to see the duck under there, and well, it's Rosso and Reyes right now neck and neck as they're going through turns 2 into 3, and Irizar, he's saying thank you very much, I'll try and finish off the job here, but no, contact.
Oh, what a recovery. That's something you can do with front wheel drive cars. We see him going 3 wide again. Freckleton's drifting. We've got go around the outside. Freckleton's dropped a couple of positions. Irizar was looking like he'd make the move there. It'd be really good. Still up the inside of Blanca's. Going to try and make that stick and keep that position. A little bit of contact yet again. It's turned into a little bit of bumper cars here, but like you say, front wheel drive cars, you'll know it best, Paul. Just plant the throttle, get it back straight, and some really good car control. I believe, actually, that's the number 7 relinquishing the position, which is really, really nice.
Yeah, I think it was just with them having that contact through turn 4, the hairpin in the middle of the track. You know, I think it's the right thing to do to just say, yeah, no, do you know what? I turned you around, lost you the place here, have the place back. There's now Rosso running it deep into turn number 1. And yeah, we've got 2x2 action here. This is great stuff to watch. 4th through to 7th, and not anything to separate them right now. As more tyres get vandalised here by these drivers, but you know, the front wheel drive drivers, you know, they know how to paint swap. They know the dark arts of racing to front wheel drive car drivers more than others. There's a dive down the inside from Freckleton, trying to make the move stick, and do you know what? That's not quite worked out in his favour.
I was going to say, I thought that manoeuvre there, the late braking, it looked dramatic, but I thought did it fairly well, you know, gave plenty room to the car on the outside, but in fact, I think just running out, we might get a replay of it, but running out just a little bit too wide, too early. Racing incident for me, but yeah, really unlucky. We look back to more of the action. We're looking at Bruno Tomé, who looks like he had a bad run through that final corner, and he's going to be vulnerable to the inside of Lapinen, I believe, Lapino, I should say, who goes up the inside and gets into that Tom, demoting go to the back. But yeah, like I said, that move with Freckleton, Paul, I thought it was really well judged at the start, but just catching them and how little weight there is over the rear of these cars, being front-wheel drive, front engine, you know, everything's at the front almost. They're so susceptible to being spun around like that.
Well, the rear tyres are just there to stop it from sparking away along the ground. They're literally just there to hold the back end of the car up and provide a little bit of braking. With these cars, though, I have noticed through racing it that they are very susceptible to that rear quarter contact, and you alluded to it about it feeling like a kart to a degree. It's a short wheelbase car. so they are going to be more susceptible to those sort of contacts, because it's, with it being a shorter wheelbase, it's more nippy, and therefore it'll be easier to turn in doing that, because the rotational forces needed to turn the car will be a lot smaller than, say, on the Hyundai Veloster, to give an example. So yeah, it is easier to turn these cars, and you've got to leave the space. A certain Spaniard said you must always leave the space, and unfortunately Freckleton didn't do that on corner exit.
Yeah, well, a certain Spaniard did once say that once upon a time, who may be in the news at the moment by a potential partner, but we won't get into any dating relationship type stuff on a racing podcast, but stream here. We're still seeing a lot of fighting. The action's been fantastic. We've seen having to go a little bit defensive, trying to hold that position, and really around this top 10s where all the action has been today. A good mix of iRacing of all the drivers around here, and it's showing how good the racing can really be. We're going to see a replay here of Go down into the hairpin here. I believe this might be the incident with Freckleton. So you see Freckleton there coming back. Like I say, I think it's a racing incident. I'm not sure what you think, Paul.
I think Freckleton was expecting Michael to just take it right out to the edge of the track, and he's expected that to happen. But no, he's pinched him in on corner exit. I mean, Goff doing the right thing and trying to get the power off of corner exit and to get the run out the corner and get the speed to go down. So yeah, suboptimal is the phrase that me and Peter Mackay like to say, is there's a little bit of outbraking of themselves, and that allows Lorenzo Blanco and also Ricardo Dar to move ahead of Michael Goff.
Well, Durr is still side by side here, as we see that little mistake from Goff costing him quite a bit of time. Daha is going to maintain get the position, I should say, going on to our 10th lap here this evening. Only 5 laps to go, more battling further forward. Lapina gets another position up into ninth, continues that little bit of a recovery that Lapina's had, starting on the grid in ninth, back up to where he started. Another bit of side-by-side, further behind, we've got Blanco racing a little bit with Salazai, and yeah, still a good bit of action, and now potentially vulnerable to Daha.
Yeah, could well be, and holding the inside line though into the hairpins. That's okay, but couldn't get the car stopped, and contact. I said it only takes the smallest of contact to turn these cars around, and unfortunately that's exactly what we got there. And well, here comes Freckleton on his recovery drive, trying to do that. Door-to-door contact down the straight. Come on, there's plenty of racetrack there. Don't need to try and use the exact same piece of asphalt.
Getting a little bit more touring car-like here, and it's a baby touring car, so you can excuse the drivers a little bit, maybe a little bit unnecessary. But Freckleton gives him the door, shows him who's boss. Maybe, you never know. But nothing drama there. Not too much of drama. And back into 11th place for Freckleton. Like I said, probably a disappointing qualifying for Freckleton here, considering him being the 5th highest seed number in this split here tonight. We've certainly seen him do a little bit better in other of the races, but recovering well, and there's still a few laps left, and maybe to catch back up to the top 10, but it'll certainly be quite a big ask with it being at 2 seconds. Looking forward to Irazar, holding out that P5 position at the moment. Of course, one of the stats that is recorded on your iRacing profile, the amount of top 5s you get in official races. So we'll certainly be wanting to hold on to that one to get another one added to that tally. But we're actually seeing a battle for the lead. I believe Pentilla has gone down the inside and has took the lead here with only a few laps to go. 3 laps to go here. Can Herzog fight back? We didn't really see that one coming, but RD Sim Sport kind of, we see them a lot in the World Touring Car Series that you commentate on, and it looks like some of that touring car experience is helping out here in the Clio.
And we see Matthias Pentilla in that championship as well on Thursday nights here on RaceSpotTV. So, he's got plenty of experience in front-wheel drive, and he's putting on a good showing here. First place right now. Here's the move then. So this is going into the final corner on the previous lap then. And, well, it's going to be touch of brakes, get the car rotated. Look at that, just hugs that inside line, gets on the power, keeps it to the inside, gets a little bit of a run, and no real defence there from Herzog, which surprises me, to be honest. Nicely to the inside, kept it to the apex, job done.
Yeah, you've certainly got to say Herzog was quite polite there and quite respectful in the racing. You know, definitely could have closed and been a bit more aggressive to close that defensive line. But tell you who won't be complaining, Matthias Pentilla, who now takes the lead of this race and looks to control it with 3 laps to go as we're on lap number 13. The timer in the top of your corner is showing the time remaining, but we will get one more lap of, you know, it's not till that timer expires to 0. You will get a final lap. So we should see 15 laps here. It's tracking well. Pentilla has opened that gap up to about 0.4 of a second, but definitely not running away with it in comparison to how much they've gapped Rogers over the course of this 15-minute race. And if there's any mistakes, I'm sure that there'll be maybe another change for position. Looking back towards this battle for, I believe, the 5th position. Looks like Blankers has got into P5. We're looking back at Dylan Freckleton, who we were saying that might be able to gain some positions or maybe gain some time up, but acceptable to Goff, and Goff has got back through. We saw the initial move by Freckleton on Goff earlier, just a few laps ago, and it looks like Goff has got the speed and is able to reclaim that position as go defensive into turn number 1.
Yeah, very aggressive with the defensive drive there, Thomas Stephen, trying to make that recovery drive from that opening corner incident of the race. Up to 13th, to be fair, which is not a bad recovery considering he was a good sort of 8-9 seconds back from the back of the pack. So doing all right. Goff's run wide on corner exit. He's compromised here. That's the run that Freckleton needed, but he's got the outside now. And he's on the opposite side of where he needs to be, Freckleton.
Yeah, and not really getting as good a run around the outside as possible, potentially because it being front-wheel drive, just had to let off the throttle a little bit to make sure it turned through that corner. And yeah, looking like not going to be able to have a go this lap. But we have got one more lap remaining in this race for Freckleton to be able to try and make a move, and is certainly close enough to maybe give it a little bit of ascend, but the exit there looks to be maybe not so sufficient. So could still be a change here, but not into turn number 1. Looking at that gap for your lead. Oh, Goff has gone wide, and they're going to... Oh, I thought they were going to bang doors there, side by side, down into the second hairpin of your lap through the S's section. Freckleton on the outside gives plenty of room, actually locks the outside tyre. Goff up the inside, bit of contact. That's going to be Stephen, who gets up the inside, a little bit of argy-bargy. We're looking back at your race leaders as well with this battle down at the bottom right corner, but Matthias Pentilla has coped brilliantly. Made that move with 4 laps to go in the race, did a very, very good job, and Pentilla comes through to win Week 6 of Friday Night Primetime. And there's been chaos down in the bottom right corner. I cannot ignore it any longer. It looks like Freckleton's been turned around. Stevens had what it looked to be a bit of a lockup on the outside. And yeah, that's been a very chaotic end as Izar tries to maybe come back on it. Freckleton, not the race that he would have wanted. What are your thoughts on tonight's race, Paul?
I thought the race at the front was really good. I think it was really clean and wasn't intense. And I thought Herzog was quite forgiving and open to that move from Pentilla. Here's what happened on that last lap then. So it's Stevens and Goff. Stevens has run deep. Goff makes contact mid-corner. They get on the power again, and I'm not convinced by that, Thomas. And then Freckleton gets turned around again, not for the first time in this race. And I think that sums up what the mid-pack was like. It was just chaotic. There was contact everywhere, cars getting turned. That's Renault Clios for you, really, isn't it?
Absolutely. Well, closing out the first half of the season with our 6th race, we have the results for you. Matthias Pentilla, with the fastest lap, takes your win from Finland. I can see Iku Merikala, our producer, cheering in the background, with Herzog coming in 2nd. Rogers 3rd, rounding out the podium today with Rees, Blankers, Irizar, Rosso, Tome, Lappinen, and Blanco rounding out your top 10. Our remaining 6 finishers goes Goff, Stephen, Salali, Daniel, but Freckleton, Daha, and Saragui rounding out 16th, 37 seconds back in the end. Sparks flew today, and it was still a really good race. I did enjoy it. I can't wait for next week, as always. I do love coming back for these Friday night prime times. It was delightful to have you with me, Paul. What was your final closing thoughts for tonight's race?
Very much a typical Renault Clio front-wheel drive race around a short, narrow track. Contact was made, and unfortunately in some places, but there was a really good opportunistic move, and Matthias Pentila is the one who comes out victorious in the end.
Well, as you see that beautiful RD SimSport livery on your screen, Matthias Pentila is victorious here in week 6 of Friday Night Primetime. We are back the same time next week at the WeatherTech Raceway at Laguna Seca, a track which has been on the iRacing service for a number of years. Well, I have been William Chadwick. Paul Smith has been Paul Smith, and Aiku Merikala has been behind the scenes doing all the production work. Thank you for joining us for Friday Night Primetime here on week number 6, and until next week, goodbye.